America, and welcome to Invent America, because America invents.
This episode of Invent America is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network and has been bringing to you the best of America's home-based product innovation since 1998. This segment of Invent America is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
This is Invent America, because America invents. We are part of the Home Talk USA family with King's Broadcasting. So thank you so much for being with us. It's really fun to talk about inventors and their stories and what they have to go through and how often they feel like they're on an island all alone, in a boat out in the ocean all alone, falling off a cliff all alone, having everybody's hands in their pockets and it's a deep black hole and it is empty. Or just, Goliath is out there over and over and over again and they are fighting a battle all alone. So today we're going to talk about some of the challenges and the fights inventors have had. And yet we keep doing it. So my first guest today is Leo York. He is an inventor. He is with the Kentucky group. I have met a ton of great people through Leo and Don Skaggs with the Kentucky group from all over the world, because inventors invent, doggone it. We solve problems. Leo, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself so that they know, kind of, how do you know all of this? What Goliath have you fought?
Sure. Yeah. I'm a serial inventor, and I also am vice president of Inventors Network Kentucky, and we coach inventors from pretty much every possible industry. We've got people in software, we've got people in housewares, we've got people everywhere in between. And as a result, I've seen the commonalities between all of these different pathways and industries. And for the most part, all of the struggles are roughly the same.
It's amazing how, there might be a few shifts, intellectual property on software is much more difficult than intellectual property on a new tool.
Definitely.
One will last 4 years and the other one is obsolete generally before it's filed, let alone getting through the process, because it changes so fast. And so some of those challenges, I know you guys help inventors understand the path. It's so much easier for them to make business decisions if they understand the challenges before they start.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that old cliche expression, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure, is applicable in business as much as it is in health.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what are some of the things, tell us, what are some of the things you've invented?
Sure. Right now, I'm actually reaching out this afternoon to Mike Bowling of Pound Puppies about a toy product that I've been kind of finalizing. But I've also done work on some houseware things and some one software product that unfortunately never got to market. Although the reason it never did was the competitor just looked way too big, and now they bowed out. So I might revisit that one. I don't know.
That's just, we keep things in a file and it's like, well, let's go back and talk about that one again. I know we had one gentleman, he says, I give up. And the next thing I knew, somebody was saying, wait a minute, didn't you have that product at a show 2 years ago? Yes, we did. Okay, so let's dig out those files. You never know.
Yeah.
As the market shifts, interest in potential products shift.
Absolutely. No, it's amazing how often something will boomerang on you like that.
It is. I know we had a couple of different instances where, people have invented a lot of different types of suitcases and containers. And there's a lot of them out there. So when somebody comes to me with a new type of case and we look at it and it's like, go back to the standard size suitcase that's out there, because one of the big challenges these days are molds. They're so expensive. So if you can use an existing case size and just make a new insert, Well, now the inserts lay
Interesting.
flat. They will stack on a store shelf. So you don't have to have now all this shelf space for a new suitcase. All you have to do is have a new insert for an existing size.
Interesting. Well, you know, the suitcase with the wheels, that is a shockingly new thing. Suitcases have been around for centuries, and yet it was like the 90s, I want to say, when somebody
Yeah.
decided, hey, you know that thing that we've used for 10,000 years, a wheel and an axle? What if we put that on these heavy bags? That's just mind-blowing to me that that wasn't 150 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the guy that did the flashlight that wraps around the pole, so you don't have to use your mouth to
Ah,
hold the flashlight, to use both hands.
yeah.
Cool. That was a game changer. Love that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities to improve upon pre-existing technology.
And sometimes those are the best new inventions. You know, game
100%.
changer. All right. So you're looking at making a product. So you're taking a problem everybody knows they have and making a better solution. It's when you solved a problem that the consumer doesn't even know they have yet. That's a tough one.
Yeah, yeah. That's when you sometimes fall in the pitfall of creating a solution for a problem, or sorry, I said that backwards, creating a problem to fit the solution you've come up with.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, Apple paid a lot of money to teach you that an apple is something that you play with instead of something that you eat.
definitely. Yeah, branding is so pivotal.
It can be really expensive. So, talk about some of the challenges, the Goliaths that you've helped inventors work through.
Um, Funny enough, branding is a big one because quite often people are intimidated by their competition. A lot of times they're, already much bigger, and the upside to that is usually much slower to adapt. Usually the biggest companies are the slowest. I compare it to kind of like naval battles where, if you're up against a battleship, you don't need another battleship. You need a much smaller, faster ship. And a lot of times just having branding that offsets the competition and separates them from what they claim to be can be really big. And I think the biggest thing, you alluded to it earlier about people being in kind of a dark space when they're inventing is just having a community that allows you to talk to one another, hold each other accountable, and collaborate. I think that's a big part of it. It is a very lonely journey unless you find your tribe. And that's why I'm glad to be on a
Yeah.
radio station like this where we're talking exactly to those kinds of people.
Well, it's funny because I'll get people say, well, where have you been? I had a hard, why haven't I
Mm.
found you sooner? It's like, I don't know, because I've been all over the internet for 15 years. And so it's not new that, the Inventors Roundtable is out there and there are different inventor groups. And I had this mother one time, she said, well, my son is thinking of starting, an internet group for high school inventors. And I said, tell him to go
Mm.
join the other 20 that are out there
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
are already there. And so for a lot of inventors, the best advice they get is from the inventor sitting next to them, even if it is on a virtual screen.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Iron sharpens iron.
Yep. And when I get inventors that are talking about a problem they have, a lot of the other inventors, it's like, well, this is what I did, because they generally always have the same types of problems.
Oh yeah, yeah. Supply chains, IP, manufacturing, sourcing, they're almost always identical, and you can kind of predict almost in a given time period who's going to have trouble with what. Like right now, sourcing is kind of a problem with all the stuff going on in the world. So domestic sourcing is often the answer to that particular quandary.
I know, and you've introduced us to some really good ones. And,
Thank you.
with Stitch Kentucky, we've sent
Oh
several
yeah.
inventors to her. She's
Oh
wonderful.
great. They're
And
fantastic.
yeah, just being able to find out, as people are start coming back and looking for, um, different manufacturers. I know we've talked to the gentleman and to the Made in America store, and they've got a
Mhm.
lot of manufacturers because they only carry products made in America. And if you need
Right.
something made in America, by golly, they're the ones to go and talk to find out who can make this.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they're just a wonderful group of people there. So, we want to thank you very much for that introduction. And I know you've got several others. So, everybody, I want you to stick with us because when we come back, we're going to be talking to a couple of inventors who've had their own Goliath to fight. And it's always fun to know, what was their challenge and how did they beat it? Not everybody's got a slingshot that they're a really good shot with. Sometimes we got to use something else. So, stick with us, everybody. We will be right back with an American inventor.
This segment of Invent America is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
My guest right now is Richard Chesbrough. He is an inventor and looking at getting a very cool new product out there. Richard, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Rita. Great to be here.
Well, you've got products that are in the marketplace and a new one going. So, today we're talking about, David and Goliath and the challenges inventors go through. So tell our listeners, what is it you invented?
Well, I was a radiologist, a medical doctor specializing in diagnostic radiology, and invented a bunch of medical devices. Then I retired a few years ago, and now I'm working on consumer products. So one of the ones in the market today is Closet Cadet, one word, Closet Cadet, CADET, on Amazon. It's a instant closet organizer that keeps all your hangers spaced, and we're selling a whole bunch of them on Amazon every day. And we are also into a few retail clothing stores that are using them for their displays to keep the clothes looking nice at the retail level. So it has consumer but also business applications. And then the one I'm most proud of, most excited about is Riser. It is a floor mat that turns into an elevating step stool or a working platform. And that's still in engineering. I've got a bunch of people working on that. We're raising some money. But that's, I think, going to be a big help to people that are a little bit shorter, that are dealing with everyday vertical challenges, either at home or at the workplace. Think of somebody really short trying to give a speech behind a podium. And sometimes it's hard to see them. And so they have to step up on a box. And so this will be a mechanical or motorized platform that can go from almost flat all the way up, 10 or 12 inches if need be. So those are a couple of the things I'm working on.
All right. So what is your biggest challenge? Let's look at the consumer products, versus the challenges that you had when you were in the medical arena getting products out there. What were your Goliaths?
The biggest challenge is, consumer goods for me, the biggest challenge is just getting noticed. There's so much noise out there. It used to be what was the saying? If you build it, they will come. The saying
that was a movie, honey.
Yeah,
that wasn't.
If you build it, they won't know about it. How do you get people's attention with all of the different distractions? So I was so naive. I thought with Closet Cadet that we could build it, take out a few ads, it would go viral. People would be excited to see something new, but it's very hard to get people's attention. So I think as an inventor, if you're going to venture something yourself, you really have to plan on spending a lot of time and money on the whole marketing piece. And my advice would be to try to partner with somebody who has that skill set, that knows how to do social media marketing.
Yeah, that's a tough animal. It really is. We call it mount marketing. And if you look at the top of the mountain, you will never get there. It is one step at a time. I did a lot of 14ers when my daughters were growing up. And if you don't take that one step at a time and pay attention, we used to have the mountain rescue guys say, "Don't make me come get you at midnight. I don't like that." And, part of it was like, you can't always, your instincts is to always go downhill, but you got to follow the trail. And sometimes it is, not the instinctive way. So
Right.
it's the same way with inventing. You've got to pay attention to options and pick the one that fits you best, because different options are for different types of products.
Right. Exactly right. So that is a challenge now. And I think the other challenge for me is Amazon. And I don't know how other inventors feel, but I've gone from being an inventor to being entrepreneur with putting stuff on Amazon. We are selling, we are making money, but it's a struggle because Amazon takes a big percentage of it. And maybe even more importantly, we don't get all the customer data from Amazon.
Yeah.
They will tell you that they're a platform to sell products, but there's so much more than that. They own the customers. They know who they are. They know where they live. They have their email address. They don't necessarily share that with the vendor. And that really is difficult for us as business people. It would be great to sell on your own website, but it's getting harder and harder to compete against Amazon. The problem is Amazon doesn't share a lot of critical data.
Yeah, it is. That's, you've got to have an outlet. And, the retail stores, the old traditional retail stores, they're just not around anymore. For me, it's there's a Walmart in town and a Food City in town, and oh yeah, no, there's not. Oh yeah, there is an Ace Hardware. We do have an Ace Hardware in Newport, Tennessee.
Yeah,
Yay. But if the products aren't fitting in, and then a lot of times the products that you want, they don't even carry in the stores anymore.
right, right.
So yeah, and you've got to watch where the products are made.
Yes.
The products made in China are awful. I had a light put above my sink, and it fell apart and fell off in the sink and cracked the sink.
Right. Well, I think each product is individual. We're made in China, and we don't think we're awful, but we are also just a corrugated plastic sleeve that is pretty hard to break. So it's pretty indestructible. But yeah, so I think that's a challenge for inventors now, is working with the big vendors like Amazon. Um, and so it can be done, but you also need to bring yourself up to speed on how to work with Amazon. And they have, Seller Central, and they have their own policies and procedures. And you've got to spend some time learning the ropes with Amazon. So
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's like any other retail store. You sell at Walmart, it is a consignment shop.
right,
And Amazon is very similar. It's just a virtual Amazon,
right.
a virtual store. So anyway, everybody, we will be back in just a couple of minutes. Got to go pay some bills. Richard, thank you so much for being with us, and we will get that website out there for you. Stick with us. We're going to be right back with another inventor who's got a couple of cool products, and we need to see what his challenges have been. And I know there's some good ones. So be with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is a training pull-up for little boys, and it's a great product to use. It makes it easy for the parent and the child when learning how to potty train. The coolest part about the product is that you don't have to take the child's pants all the way down every time that they need to use the restroom. You can just open this part here, and the child can tinkle through here, and it makes it easy for the parent and the child. It's a great product, and I cannot wait until it hits the market.
And right now we are talking to Jeff Gerhart. He's got a couple of really cool inventions that we are trying to license. And I am sure that besides having, these really big things you've got out there, Jeff, which was probably one of your challenges, tell everybody about Squeegee and Baggett.
Yeah, so these are two products that I have patents, patent pending on. The patents have been submitted. We're waiting to hear back on them. Squeegee's been around for a few years. If you can envision a large squeegee that you can use in your driveway, garage, or whatever, it has a flexible blade on it that allows you to slide over expansion joints. And originally designed it to push snow, but it's also pretty useful for water and leaves and dirt and raking in a sense too. So it's a hand tool. So and Baggett Direct is a augmentation to what we call yard sweepers or lawn sweepers. You may have seen them. They're different companies manufacture them, like John Deere, Ohio Steel, AgriFab. And basically what they do is they have a cylindrical brush inside that actually allows the material that you're dragging it across. For example, you might tow it behind a zero turn or a lawn tractor or whatnot, and you get these cylindrical brushes moving, and they actually sweep up material. In my case, pine needles and pine cones, but in a lot of places it would be leaves or anything that sits on your grass or on a field or your driveway or whatever, and sweeps it into a big hopper. And then you have to empty that big hopper. So now you've just swept up all that material. And you now have to dump the hopper and pick it all back up again and put it in some kind of receptacle, like a trash can, unless you're going to compost. Now, some people compost, and that's fine, but in Colorado, it's too dry to compost. So I have to
Oh, yeah.
do it in bags. So anyway, what I've done is I augmented that process to allow you to just use a standard yard bag and attach it with some capability that I've added that actually allows you to sweep that right into a bag directly. And then you just take the bags off, tie them up, and set them out by the trash can. So,
all right, in your steps through the process so far, what have been your biggest challenges? What's your Goliath?
My Goliath is basically getting to production prototypes because of, partially because of the expense, and then I'll just trying to make sure that we get all the details done and make it easy to produce. I think you get caught up in making the prototype good and useful, and you forget about what it takes to actually produce it and get it into a tooling mechanism to actually come out with a cost-efficient and effective product.
I think most people don't realize that, in those beginning steps, when you're dealing with your prototypes, things that you've come up with in your garage, that the manufacturer's prototype, where you're going to make thousands of them, is a very different animal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're correct. Yep.
It's, it can be really challenging. I've actually had inventors who ended up getting patents filed on the process of making it, not just on the product, but because making it was such a challenge, they had to come up with new things to make it. Right. And, that led to new intellectual property. And you never know, but the evolution of the patent to the manufacturer's prototype can be a very long process.
Right. And the you have to think about things like lot size and the tooling that the actual manufacturer is going to use versus what you've used to produce prototype, and so those are all very relevant points.
So we look at I've had inventors say, all right, I've done the best I can, where do I go? And oh, by the way, I have no money. That can be a challenge in and of itself. That money pit that we look at for a lot of inventors is just a real hard fight. There are ways to get the patent done because you can go to the pro bono services, but prototyping, there is no pro bono for prototyping.
Right. Yep. So that's where I'm at. So we're kind of in that stage where I took a little bit of a break to kind of rethink my path, and that's where I'm going. So.
All right. So what is your goal? Where do you want to get to besides sitting on an island?
Well, I like to get these products out in the market. I did have an interesting call from some folks who are actually looking at Bag It Direct to do collection of bio waste. So you think about agricultural waste, grass, leaves, anything like that, and they take it and they want to use it as an input to something called biochar, which actually is a carbon that can be used for fuel, for fertilizer, for amending soil, all different types of things. So that was an interesting call. They need a way to pick it up, and might be a way to actually get Bag It Direct out and going. So yeah.
You never know. And I've had inventors in the past who have, they're geared, you get your focus going on one way that you sometimes miss then an option or even sometimes a better way of getting the product into the marketplace first. Absolutely. And so a lot of times you'll say, it's like, what about this? Or when they go to a trade show and somebody says, did you think about using it this way? And it's like, holy cow, didn't think about that one.
Yeah. Yep. You're absolutely right. So you got to be open-minded, and let things fall where they'll fall.
Yep. Absolutely. So you are a bit, who you been getting to help you with your prototypes?
Noah McNeely at Product Quick Start's been helping me a bit, and we took a little bit of time off because of tariffs. We're trying to wait to see where that goes, but and I'd like to have it made in America. That's a bit of a challenge as well, just because of the cost structure. So, yep.
We are seeing more of that coming back right now, and I am fortunate that I get to meet some of the other companies that are manufacturing in the US, and they're starting to open up some of their options. It's like they may be manufacturing one product, but they're looking at the possibility of doing some of these shorter runs for inventors.
And that'd be
It's
great if you and I revisit that subject. That'd be awesome.
So
yeah.
I think I can make arrangements to do that. Fortunately, we have phones, right? Oh, shoot. So we've known each other for a few years now.
Yep.
And been to a few trade shows together. I've seen you through your first, the first one, and now the Bag It. It's been a lot of fun to see. Yours are basically outdoor products.
Correct.
And your challenge is living in the forest out in Colorado.
Right.
And so when we look at, you must spend a lot of time outside having, to deal with the outdoorsy stuff.
That's correct. Yep. And these products are born of that. Problems being outdoors and trying to pick up stuff and deal with snow and all that other kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Snow, pine needles, everything. And a lot of it is because of the fire danger that's out there.
Correct. Because fire mitigation in Colorado is a big deal, as it is in other places like California, as we saw last year. So, yeah.
I know that one of our inventors, we were teasing him because he'd come to the show, and I think you were pretty close to him, and he had these little bags of debris that from the forest out in, and it's like from the forest out in California, and we teased him and said we called it LA in a bag. So
yeah.
He was not happy with us when we were teasing him. So
and in fact, they were all pine needles that were in the bag, and I said, I can give you those all day, man. Just send me an address to ship them.
Yep. That's the one gentleman in Colorado that does pine-right. And that was after all the beetle kill out there. And he came up with the product and, turns it into a powder. That was one of those where it wasn't the product that got the patent. It was the machine to make the product that got the patent. And now he ships this stuff by the container full to China.
Oh, okay.
And they sell it in these little tiny jars for $150 a piece as a beauty aid.
Wow. Yeah.
So who would have thought? And I still use it every day, but fortunately mine is like, $10 a bottle off of Amazon. And it's just a hand soap, a powdered hand soap, but oh, wow, it's really good stuff. So anyway, Jeff, we are looking forward to helping you get through these next steps. And hopefully if you have any more Goliaths, we're able to, use that slingshot successfully and get you into the marketplace. Thank you so much for being with us. Everybody, if you know an inventor out there and they've got questions and challenges, have them get in touch. We do the Inventors Galaxy Guide that answers a lot of questions. We also do the Inventors Roundtable where you can come and meet people like Jeff and ask questions and get some advice. So stick with us. We will be right back with Leo York to wrap up this segment of Invent America. So hang in there, everybody. We'll be right back. If you're an inventor or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org. Welcome back, America, for this segment of Invent America, because Americans invent. Again, if you know anybody out there who's got a new product, who's working on a product, has an idea, get in touch, because we can help them answer a lot of the problems before they ever get started. We can help them find solutions, know what to expect. That's, I think, one of the biggest things for inventors is like, you've got an idea and get it out there. Holy cow, there's a lot going on. So Leo, I think, for a lot of inventors, okay, we used to laugh and tease inventors that the inventor business model was have idea, get patent to make money. And
Yeah,
so, for a lot of them, it's like, okay, they get it. They've got a new idea. They check out filing a patent. They should never do their own. Can they? Yes. Should they? No. It's like doing your own brain surgery, but that's the
mm,
first step. For a lot, you don't have to have a patent to go to market. You have to have a
right.
patent to negotiate. So
That exactly.
you don't care, don't waste your money on that, save it for the manufacturing. Manufacturing can certainly be a challenge, but I hear all the time that marketing, this is no longer it's not easy. You don't do TV commercials, they couldn't afford that, but marketing online is really expensive.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a brave new world, and thankfully there's so many ways people can kind of do their own. It's unlike a patent. There's a lot of ways that you can actually make your own marketing. The first thing I always tell people is figure out what kind of branding you want to use. The iconography, like a logo, color scheme for your website and for your social media account. Uh, Maybe a slogan or a tagline or something that just really quick and snappy describes what problem that your uh, product addresses. Things like that. That's really good branding to build off of. Because if you don't have that foundation, it's going to be a lot harder to do marketing materials because you're not going to really know how to narrow it down. And then from there, the thing I see the most success with is one, test and see who your audience is. And the answer is never everybody. That's another
I
big
know,
foible
right?
we see inventors fall into. And then from there, find out what social platforms that those kinds of people are most involved in. Like if, for example, if you have a food related product, there's a good chance that Facebook and Instagram is going to be best for you. And if you have a houseware product that's geared more towards younger folks, then TikTok is probably going to be better for you. And if it's B2B, LinkedIn is going to be better for you. So figure out what your platform is and then regularly post things there. That's
Yeah.
the steps 1, 2, and 3 of doing your own branding and doing your own marketing can be tremendous. And it's kind of like with bootstrapping your business where you're starting cheap with your prototype and then you're scaling out as you make more money. Similarly, once you hit a certain point, maybe you can outsource to somebody to manage your account, who's better at that kind of consistent posting and now the time's not an issue. Or even better, if you get to enough point of recognition, maybe you can afford an influencer or somebody to partner with. And from there, you're going to get the word out based on their audience rather than having to just slowly build your own from scratch.
Right. I always tell inventors to think you've got to be really smart with your words. So
Mm.
invite some friends over, you know, buy some beer, a couple bottles of wine, or whatever, and sit around and say, what would you Google to find this? And write the words down.
Yeah.
And then when you start looking at what you should call it, make sure you've got at least one of those words that somebody would Google to find you. And we had some folks years ago, they wanted to name it Tagabiner after Carabiner. It's like, nobody's going to Google that. I said, get a
No.
tagline, get a tagline. And so they got pet tag holder. It was a
There you
pet
go.
tag holder. And back
Yep.
then you could still get pettagholder.com. They did. And it threw them up in the top because when people needed a new pet tag holder, they Googled pet tag holder.
Pet tag
And
holder.
Tagabiner came
Pops
up.
right up.
So you got to be smart with your words. And, we had a guy that wanted to do a new product to hang a door. And he wanted to call it Door Dog. But when you Google doggy doors, you get a million hits for doggy doors.
Certainly.
And I said, get a tagline, get a tagline. What would someone Google to find you? How to hang a door. We got howtohangador.com. Now he's on the first page.
That is a great explanation for SEO. Like a lot of times I'm a copywriter, and when I mention SEO to people, they're like, what is that? And then I explain search engine optimization. That's exactly what it is. It's using keywords when you have the presence online to maximize the number of people who find you.
Exactly. So you've got to be really smart with your words. And like you said, you can't do all the platforms. That's crazy. You look what you've got, where do those people go? And then you focus on those platforms. And that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Fish where you're fishing for. Don't fish for catfish in the ocean and don't fish for mahi-mahi in a lake. So yeah, exactly.
There you go. Well, and a lot of times people hire someone to do market research. No, go to a trade show. All they do is send you an invoice. You don't get any relevant, and they've got no skin in the game. They're still going to send you the invoice no matter who, they talk to. Go to a trade show, a professional trade show for your industry, and talk to people face to face.
That's exactly what you got to do. Get your boots on the ground, because it's the case with most things. Same thing applies to inventing. If you outsource to somebody else something that you can do on your own, you're going to spend money where you don't need to spend money, and you're going to waste time where you don't need to waste time. So get out there and make those connections and test your market.
Well, you've got to go out and talk to people face to face. You shake their hand. You see their reaction to your prototype or your product, and that makes a huge difference for you, because you're not taking somebody else's word for it. I know we did a focus group one time, and we asked everybody, it's like, what color would you buy on a form? And then the inventor had a whole bunch of free ones in the back of the room. Everybody picked yellow. Who would have thought? Their actions were, I really don't want a black one. I want a yellow one. So, Leo, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate it very, very much. And I know that we will have you on again as our industry expert. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.